Sometimes it's the ticky ticky boom booms,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
that can ticky ticky boom boom, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
You, hey, you know, you know. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Confab Experience. Hi, ladies.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, man. You guys, I feel like I haven't talked to you in so long. I don't know why. I mean, we've had such great episodes this season with such great guests, but I just feel like the four of us haven't really,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
shot the breeze in a
Chopped it
while,
up.
chopped it up.
Yeah.
So I kind of just want to do that on this episode. How do you feel about that? You
I'm
good?
so ready. I'm so excited. I have looked forward to this like all week long, actually.
I'm with it.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
good. um God, I just feel like so much has happened in the past few weeks that we need to talk about.
Mhm.
um how about, okay, let's start with this. So
Mm.
I actually got a call from my dad the other day, and he was like, my dad is an elderly black man. Okay.
Mhm.
I know you guys know, but our for listening audience, my dad is an elderly black man, and he is concerned a little bit because he's probably behind healthcare workers and like people who live in nursing homes to get the COVID vaccine when it comes out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was like, "How are you feeling? How are you feeling about the COVID vaccine? Like, what do you think?" Um, and rightly so. There are some thoughts and feelings
Questions.
that people have.
Mhm.
So, out of curiosity, when this
Mhm.
COVID vaccine that people have been literally working on for about 5 minutes comes out and starts being distributed.
This question feels biased.
Yeah, it does.
From the start.
That 5 minute part kind of.
Mhm.
Surprisingly, no, I'm just curious. Are you guys going to take it?
So, if I could start, I saw something the other day, and
Mhm.
I'd like to read it because I don't want to mess it up. So, if you guys are okay with that.
Sure.
40 years worth of research, no vaccine for HIV. At least 100 years of research, no vaccine for cancer. Ongoing research, no vaccine for the common cold, but now in less than a year, you have a vaccine for COVID-19. Do you want me to take it? And then at the end of this, it says LOL, and I'm definitely, this is floating around the internet. I think people should take it. I do. I do think people should take it. And I think that after some time, I too will take it.
How much time?
Well, 4 or 5 years, perhaps.
4 or 5 years.
Perhaps.
Do you think you'll need to take it
4 or
after
five
4 or 5
years.
years?
What'd you say?
Do you feel that you'll need to take it after 4 or 5 years?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I really don't. So, if the choice is being in the house for a whole nother year, I'm not really with that life.
Mm.
Um, but I am, they talk about like, there are three categories of people as far as like that adapt. Do you have like the early adapters, the middle of the road people, and the late adopters? I am like on the cusp of like middle of the road late adapter for
Mm.
most things. I can't see why this would be that different. Um, but enough people need to take it. I'm relying on enough people to take it that aren't me so that we can start like mingling back into society.
Herd
Like school
immunity.
needs to be in session next year.
Yeah, I I would probably not take it. Just GP. I probably just wouldn't. But the longer this thing goes on, and my husband is very like and he's probably getting more and more stringent about like people being around. So if it comes to the point where I'm not going to be able to be outside or be around anybody else, or like he won't feel comfortable, I'm we gonna be like first online because I can't I can't
Be
I
in the
can't
house
go on this
anymore.
life. This life will not do right for me. But I do understand, like, especially Black people being concerned about some not completely worked out medical situation because we've been burned in the past. Tuskegee.
Mm.
Um,
He's looking at you.
I feel like there's a risk on both sides, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you are so blessed as not to have um, contracted COVID and you're aware of that, I don't know if anybody, like if you're somebody who's asymptomatic and then you never tested, I guess you don't
Mm-hmm.
really know if you actually had it or not. But let's just say that you're blessed enough not to have COVID, then I don't know that we actually know what the like long we don't know what the like risks are of actually contracting COVID, right? Like the long-term
Right.
risks,
Mm-hmm.
effects. So there's that on one hand. And then the other hand, right, we don't know what happens if you take this vaccine, what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's like, what is it? Half a dozen and six on one hand,
60 on
half
the
a
other.
dozen on the other.
Right.
I
Um,
just see the commercials like 5 years from now. Were you affected by the COVID vaccine?
right. Right. So there is something beautiful, I would think, about if you hadn't, if you never had COVID and you can have the vaccine and never have it. There's something kind of beautiful about that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yeah. And I also think that if you happen to be somebody who's healthy, you're not going to be in the first or second or even third round of
Right.
taking this vaccine. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like you might be able to see the effects of the vaccine
Let
on
other people be the
the
guinea
first
pigs.
responders. Exactly. See
Right.
what happens to them and the old people.
Well,
Right.
oh, well, and our former president. Did you guys hear about this?
No.
Yeah.
So
And
they're going to, I'm
The three
sorry,
formers that count. Yeah, talk about it.
oh,
oh yeah.
Barack Obama,
Yep.
our
Mm-hmm.
forever president, um, George Bush, and
Bill Clinton,
Clinton
right? Yeah.
are going to take the vaccine live on camera so that everyone can feel at ease, and know that, like, it's okay. We could all do it. See, we're doing it.
Let me tell
They're
you.
taking
Hey,
they're taking the placebo.
Exactly. That is PR if I've ever heard of it.
that's what everybody is saying. Like,
Where's your
nobody's
injection
believing
of
it's actually
saline
taking it.
solution?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, but really, honestly, if there was something wrong with this thing, I don't think that they would give it to all of our doctors, police officers, and the army first.
Right. Like, so, I mean, I completely understand people being wary, right? Like, it's fast. It's super fast. You're right. They haven't found a cure for the cold in the past lifetime world history,
Mm-hmm.
right? But at the end of the day, like, there's no more political pressure. Trump lost, so they're not like creating a vaccine to make him win or but you know what I mean? Like, there's no more political pressure for the vaccine being available.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, these are like scientists and doctors. Like, they're not out to like hurt people,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And no one wants to actually be known for like being a massive failure either. So I feel like they're going to do their due diligence and what they need to do to make it relatively safe. I mean, whether or not I'm going to take it, again, there's a lot of people in front of me, I'm sure. And I'm not a vax, like, I don't get my flu shot. Don't at me, okay? But
I do.
I've never had a flu shot.
I've
I
I've
don't get
never
it.
had one either.
Yeah. So for me to all of a sudden be taken, but you know, I don't know. And also to say that it's fast, I also feel like all of us here know what it's like to work in corporate America. And these vaccine companies essentially are big corporate companies. And we know that in corporate America, big projects can move very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Because other things happen, because there's red tape, because there's regulation, because there's politics, because there's all sorts of things. And one little project will end up taking a year and a half. But I speak from experience. A few years ago, my company like prioritized
Mhm.
rebranding their whole company, and like that's all anyone in the company did for like a year. And the entire company was rebranded. All the materials, the websites, the scripts, the advertisements in a year because they prioritized it. So you
Right.
prioritize something, it moves faster. If you
Yeah.
take all the obstacles out of the way, stuff moves faster.
And that's one of the things that they were talking about this is that all of the things, especially the governmental things that would take months and months and years
Right.
and whatever, was all out of the way. So yes, they had all their people in-house working on it, and the government was like,
Go for it.
yeah, go for
Right.
it. We're not going to make you fill out an application and then wait a year before anybody looks at it. Like all of those things they push to the side. So I mean, I get it. I do. And I really do want it to work and for everybody to be healthy and safe and for us to start moving to being around
But how
people
would you
we
know
love
that?
again.
When will you know that? Like, how long before you feel like, okay, I've seen person X take this vaccine and person X looks
There
healthy?
is no way to do that.
Yeah.
No,
how
there
would you
isn't. That's what I'm
know?
saying. I don't like I'm just wishing that it all works. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm just hoping that everything just
Yeah.
we
I
don't
mean,
you're
have
never
any
gonna take it.
like
commercials.
So you're
realistically,
Me?
never
Oh
gonna
no,
take it.
no. I would take it. I've told you I'd probably be the first one online if I have to be in this house still and like that's a requirement. Like we can't go outside unless everybody's vaccinated. Then I'm gonna go ahead and
what
get
would
it.
be really interesting is if they make it one of the vaccines required to go to school.
Now, let me tell
I
you
think they
something.
I think
Let
they
me
might.
on that one.
let
I think
me
they
let
might.
me let
They
me
might.
let me be whoo, that would be crazy. Because
Then they have
I
an anti-vaxxer school.
Do they have an anti-vaxxer school?
No, they would have to
Is that called
start one.
no,
Oh,
no,
they have
you
to start
cannot
one?
vaccinate your children. Like I there are special, well, I guess it's public schools. You have to
I'm
Public
saying
schools.
you have to have
No, private. I
vaccinated.
mean, my son has to get vaccinated to go to his school. He goes to a private school.
Okay. Because I feel like there's something that's like if you can prove that there's a religious reason or something like that, that you can get a
Right.
So you would lie about your religion?
I would not lie about my religion as you ask me that on this podcast. I am an honest, good-hearted person. But I do think that like you should, well, I don't know, guys. Honestly, I think when the polio vaccine came out, they like lined people up and made them take it. And so if they make children take it, then I'm also first in line. There's nothing that I would allow for her that I wouldn't allow for myself. So, but I hope that they don't mandate it. I did hear that they were going to try to mandate it in certain states like New York, though. I don't think it's going to be federally mandated.
It would be interesting.
Yeah.
Would be interesting. All of a sudden, the anti-vaxxers wouldn't sound so crazy.
Me.
I mean, I'm just saying, it's a different perspective to have, right? My kid will take
it is. It's just it hasn't been a long time. So like the people who they did give it to, you just you don't know if there are any side effects or whatever. Like it hasn't even
I think
been a
they
year.
said there are side effects, but they only last a couple days.
Oh, okay. Well,
well, couple of days.
that's not a big deal.
I mean, but realistically, you're not going to know if there's side effects. You're not going to know what the long term, like even if
No.
it took them 5 years to make it, right? Like you're still not going to know. I mean, we don't know. They've created a vaccine for chickenpox since we were kids. I know my kid has a chickenpox vaccine. Who knows? In 20 years, something bad could happen because he got his chickenpox vaccine.
That's true.
So
I do want to say also because COVID is like equal opportunity, then there's more incentive for them to move this thing along versus like, the other things that you mentioned, Stacia.
Agreed.
Taken. And I'm sure they do the cost benefit analysis of, cancer drugs and all kinds of stuff.
Right. Fair. And I also, just as you're saying, because this is worldwide, nobody wants to get nobody wants to get sick. And I don't think that they're actually dealing with new medicines here. I actually think that they're working with medicines that they already have some idea of how they work, which is why they're able to say things like it's 95%, 93, 95%.
Oh, well, the procedure of figuring out how to get a vaccine for a virus. Yeah, like they have already figured
what these
that
people
out.
do.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay. Well, we shall see. That's where I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it on the table with we'll see. We'll see. Because we can't do another year like this. No.
You know, give it to me. Whatever. Just give it to me.
No.
Give it to the people who are out there right now having parties. Let them test it for 6 months. That's what I say.
You don't care about your lives. Here you go.
Yeah, clearly. Out there living your best life. Take this.
Okay.
Put it in your us with that tequila.
Well, you know, another thing that was on my mind. We were I was looking on the internet, something Facebook or something. There was a meme out that was like, Joe and Kamala, now that you guys won, like January 1st, do I bring my student loans directly to the White House? Do I reverse it back? Like, how exactly is this gonna go?
Oh my goodness.
Like the student loan forgiveness situation. Like they were all like campaigning hard on it.
Were they? Or was Bernie?
Bernie was.
Well, Bernie was campaigning
and Elizabeth
hard on
Warren,
it,
I think as well.
And Elizabeth Warren. But so many people were for it that it forced the hand of
Joe and
Biden,
Kamala.
to include it in as a part of their platform. So yeah, they definitely were on it.
Listen, if somebody wants to give me, I believe Joe is saying, or President-elect Biden is saying is saying something about $10,000.
$10,000. That's what is. Yeah.
Yo, run me that check. run it to me, right? Like as a person who's like, I'm not going to turn a gift horse down. But as another person, if I'm really thinking about this, I can agree, because we've talked about this before, that school has gotten super expensive, that the loan situation is out of control, the bubble, all of that great stuff.
Leanna was able to tell us exactly how much it was one time. Like it's a lot of money.
It's out of control. But there is a level of responsibility that people take when they sign up and take these loans. Like you're not absent of your thought when you say, I'll take 100,000, 70,000, 50,000, whatever it is. We can call it an absurd amount of money, but that was the road that you chose. Mm-hmm. So I just don't understand. Like, so we get money back, but how did the teachers get paid? How did the people get paid? Like how, that doesn't seem.
What do you mean? How did the teach? What do you mean by that?
You pay for school so that faculty, students, all of that, sure that there's a profit that's built in there as well, but that money does go and is allocated to like keep the school running.
Oh, they're not just wiping away. The government would pay it.
Are we just printing money? Like
yes,
where are we
yes, because the government can do that. They can print money. They could just print money. That's actually what they can do. So
remember when I used to say money doesn't grow on trees? No, it does.
There was a great two things. One, it's not. I think we need to think about it like student loan forgiveness is not like, oh, we're being so nice. Here's this money. It's like, here's this money, and we know that you guys don't know how to spend money, and you will turn around and you will spend that 3, 4, however many dollars per month in the economy. You will take that money and you will now go and say, oh my goodness, now I can afford that car or that house or that, whatever it is. Right. So
economists have been arguing about that point too, because they say that the people who it would affect basically make $97,000 a year plus in a household. And those folks are not really going to be putting more money into the economy. What they will do is they're going to save more. And they were saying that the same thing happened we saw with the stimulus. Those people on the lower end of the spectrum, yeah, they paid their bills or whatever. But what they found at the end of that thing was that savings accounts went up for people. So it didn't actually go back into the economy and stuff. And
But
so,
even when you save, doesn't the bank make money? Like, isn't the bank making money off your money?
yeah, but it's
It's not
kind of
like
like
it's
a
just
percent
upwards
interest.
thing. It's
Yeah,
not
like-
like a
Aren't they just using? Okay.
yeah. Well, that's just the other argument to that. Like they're not. Is it really helping the economy out? Is it coming around? Is it circling around in the community?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that it does circle. I think that if you're not on the end of the spectrum where you have to pay your bills like right away, I think you probably do bank it. And then I think you know what happens. You sit up on your room or wherever it is in, let's call it December, and you think to yourself, I got some extra money. What can I buy?
Buy like a
Christmas
sewing
is coming.
machine
Or
bike, a stationary
Peloton or something
bike,
like
you
that.
whatever.
Or let's call it the summer, and you're like, I could do a deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I actually this is one of those topics where I definitely feel like a conservative old white man, because I don't actually think that student loan. Now, if we're talking about like $10,000 and if there's like a requirement you have to meet, you know, like if it's incentivized somehow, like, oh, if you've already paid X amount off, then you get X amount. But there's something that doesn't sit well with me when you agree to pay for a service, you know the price of that service, you use that service for 4-5 years, however long, and then you're like, I don't want to pay for this anymore. Like, and I like, to Stacia's point, school's astronomically expensive, right? Like college, I don't know that it should be free, but it should definitely be affordable. Community college maybe should be free. I understand loans are predatory, but you cannot tell me that someone who is smart enough to make the grades and the SAT score to go to college doesn't fundamentally understand that a loan means something that you have to pay back. Right? I mean, like, you know,
No,
you're
yeah,
That's
borrowing
not
money
what's
and you have to
happening
pay it back.
here.
but it's not.
What's happening? I don't know what's happening.
It's not like the people who are getting the loan forgiveness are saying, oh, I don't want to pay back the loan, right? I mean, in theory, all these people are paying their loan and plan to pay it for the next 20 or 30 or however many years it
However long it
takes.
takes,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what's happening. They're doing what they contractually agreed to.
Then what are we talking about?
But they're asking, the platform is definitely asking, like, hey, this is a problem. That's the reason why Bernie
Well, then there's another
was
thing.
able to run on, like, hey, let's pay for, like, let's do
I
this.
mean, isn't forgiveness like people are for it because they don't want to pay their loans?
Yes, but there's also like, so like you say, when you go in and you sign up for, you know, whatever it is. Yes. But that thing does add up and continue to add up, and that interest starts adding up and getting more and more expensive. And it does get way bigger than what you took out or what you in your mind you
No,
think
agreed.
of.
And like,
So
I think like I said, the loan process itself is problematic. And like, I feel like there should be much more transparency. This is what interest means. If at 6, 17, 18 years old, you're not quite aware what interest means, like there needs to be more transparency in that process. And I'm not even saying like the forgiveness shouldn't look like, we'll wipe your interest away or we'll tie it to public service, which I think there is something out there like that. But
yeah, there is, for like there's teachers and public service people.
Yeah.
And then if you work in certain industries,
Yeah, if you work for legal
if
aid,
you work for certain industries
schools.
and you pay
Yeah.
your student loan consecutively for 10 years, then
Right.
they'll pick up. And
That I'm for. But it just seems like there are people out there that's like, college should be free and I just shouldn't have to pay student loans anymore. And it's sort of like,
and then what does that do for the next, like, okay, so that helps the people that came by, but are they going to have to do like a new round of the student forgiveness for like the kids who are in school now? I mean, I guess, right?
That's what I was kind of saying before. Like, if you do that, well, I guess you're saying that the government's going to pay. So if the government's paying, then they could possibly have different Pell Grants. The Pell Grant could be a little bit more, right? There's a certain cap on it. Maybe they increase the cap to it and all of the other grants that the government gives. So maybe that's how they fix it on the behind the scene. I just, I'll take the money. I mean, I'm not trying to say I won't take the money. I'm just trying to figure out like where the money comes from, since we're supposed to be in a whole little.
Also, I also think that it's a little weird, right? Because yes, you could borrow money to go to school, obviously. But then there are those people out there who decided not to go to college because it was too expensive. They were like, it's too expensive. I can't afford it. And I don't want to take out $150,000 in loans. So I'm going to go right into the workforce. Or there's people who are like, I worked the entire time I was in college just so that I wouldn't have to take out a student loan. So now those people are working and paying taxes. And now their tax money is going to people who are like, I'm gonna take out all the student loans. I'm gonna go to Chaminade University in Hawaii because it's in Hawaii, and I'm coming out with, hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans. And I don't know. There's something weird about that.
Sometimes your tax money goes to stuff you don't want to pay for anyway. You send your son to
but
private
it's
school,
like,
and you still got to pay taxes for the public school. And that part.
And like, roads and things. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's sort of like higher education is not a necessity. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, it's a different conversation, Siobhan. Yes, it is. I mean, it is and it isn't. It is and it isn't, right?
It's
like
not,
depending.
It's
For most people, it's the only way that they're gonna break into getting a job that's paying a certain amount of, or it's the only way that they feel like they're going to get a role. And
then I think communication needs to change around trades, because you know what? You can make a crap ton of money in trades.
Yeah.
In community college, because you can pay really cheaply in community college and then transfer. Like then that's what needs to change. Like this whole, I have to go to college and I have to go $100,000 into debt to get a job that pays 40. Like that's what needs to change.
That math don't add up. You're right.
I don't know. It just, because I mean, society also tells you should be driving a nice car and living in a nice house that you redesign because of HGTV, but no one's saying you're going to pay back your HELOC that you opened to.
That HGTV can get you.
Yeah, like no one's saying, oh well, you bought a house you couldn't afford, so we're going to help you with that.
No,
you know
they did that too.
No, they didn't. When the mortgage, no, those people got their houses taken away. They got foreclosed on. I don't think they got any forgiveness for that. The banks did.
Yes.
But the people didn't. I don't know. I mean, I don't,
I guess we're not going to fix the economy tonight.
I don't know. I don't know. Again,
I think it's great.
I understand.
Leanna's like, run me my money.
I want to be clear. I said run me my check too. I'm
not turning it down. I'm not going to turn it down. I just don't know if it's the best thing for the government to do. And then like the people, like we were saying, with college educations could be making 6 figures as a household, and those who didn't go to college making 37 and under a household. Is it equitable? Is it good is that really helpful? Is it even really a progressive thing? Like, is it, because like progressive is all about like being equal out and helping the lower people on the lower end of the ladder up and helping out all our fellow people. And it kind of feels a little bit,
Like, how does that trickle down?
yeah,
It's out of my wheelhouse. I
This
don't know,
doesn't need to
guys.
trickle down.
It needs to trickle here, right here.
I'm not in the room where that decision is made. I have some questions about it, but I'll take the money.
I guess I just feel like, right. I mean, I think that there's like different programs that address different issues.
Mhm.
And I don't know that in my mind, this needs to address every economic issue that we have as a country.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Just don't
this
think that.
one.
And I think the other thing, I think part of like what Hassan Minaj was saying in front of Congress was like the inflation rate at which the cost of college went up from way before to now is like astronomical and predatory, which is part of the reason why it's like, okay, yes, I guess you could make the decision that you don't want to take out loans in order to go to school. But if you do say yes, you want to go to school, it's not like you can negotiate, the price tag. So if they want to, balloon it up like this, I don't know.
You don't have a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Fair.
Absolutely.
I think we should just try it and see what happens.
And if there's no money for our kids to go to school, no.
Yeah.
Right.
And there will be, I mean, oh gosh.
There'll be loan money for them too. And then they can
something
petition
cheaper.
their politicians for help.
And then we'll just print all of our money and use it as kindling because the dollar won't be worth anything if we just keep printing money.
No, so so part of the other thing that I saw on the Daily, there was an economist, and they were like,
You love the Daily.
it's so good. It's so good. It just explains things in a way that's like, oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
But like, you turn on the faucet and it's almost like a sink, right? And that can overflow, and they can turn it on and they can turn it down and they can wait for money to go out and they can watch it. So as they turn on the faucet of money, $10,000 here and there, pay off your student loan, they can see what's happening. Are people spending it? Are they saving it? Are they not? Is this working? Is it not? And then you would see them like revamp the whole policy. Okay, we, maybe we'll only do this for the 5 years, or we'll only do 10,000 or whatever. Like, I don't think they're going to arbitrarily say this is the number across all people. I think they will do some type of like analysis to say how much money can we flood into the economy and not have the dollar get weaker and all that kind of stuff. Let's try it.
I think universal basic income would be a better idea for everyone. That way it's equitable.
Oh, is that Andrew? Is that Andrew Yang?
That's
$1,000. $1,000. I'll take that too.
Like, wasn't there an income cap on that?
No, it was Jeff Bezos would get it.
Okay.
My kid, when he turns 18, we get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to see if that could work too.
I mean, because I feel like
the
that
10,000 plus that 1,000,
and it doesn't create any like resistance or like resentment or anything like that. You need to pay a student loan, you get $1,000 a month to pay a student loan if that's what you want to pay for. If you don't have a student loan, you get $1,000 a month to pay for your home renovations or your nice car that you want or your whatever.
Yeah.
Your bills, Yeah. We're gonna just print money. Let's do that instead.
Okay, so what else is on our mind, ladies?
Have you guys, I don't know if you follow Sean King. Do you guys follow Sean King?
Yeah.
So, because I think I'm about to unfollow him. I started following him. Yeah, I unfollowed him maybe like on one of my social media platforms, but he's still on my Facebook. I unsubscribed to those newsletters where he was asking for money. Like, I unsubscribed because every other day it was like, help me with this. And I was just like, Originally, I don't remember exactly what it was where I started following him. I know that there was like a pipeline and they were moving people off the grounds for that, and it wasn't right. And I remember subscribing to that, maybe even donating to that. And also with all of the shootings of like
I remember maybe Trayvon or
yes,
something in there. Yeah.
all of that. So then he felt like someone who was honing it in, and it was like, okay, here's somebody that I can go to and I can get news from, and I can see what's happening in our community because our stories aren't being told in the way that they need to be told.
Right.
Over the years, though, and this may be on me, maybe I didn't know who he was to begin with. So I'll take that. Because I think at the time, I remember just being so desperate about all of the things happening, like feeling like, oh my gosh, that could be my nephew out there, that could be my brother. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that those stories were being told. So I thought he was a reporter. And as such, like, he reported news. But as of late, and specifically recently, he just posted this. Former President Obama had written or said that the Democrats need to, something to the effect of, because I don't want to quote directly, that we need to not have such, like, we need to move away from slogans like defund the police, because that's never going to get us anywhere. And we've lost votes and things of that nature. And Sean King just went on a tirade about how basically, like, he's abandoning us as a Black community. Like, it was like, not one, factual, two, it felt like he is really bitter that Bernie lost, because I think Bernie was his dude. And I'm like, wait, are you a reporter, or are you somebody who just has like these opinions and now like a pundit? I just don't know who he is, but I don't like him because I don't think that I think he's a little bit more in his feelings than he is factual. And I think that he is being, because of his following, sorry, I know I'm just going on, because of his following, I think that he is being irresponsible with his platform and not actually using it correctly. So, I mean, I could go on about it. There are other little things. And then he's highly emotional too. Like, when people don't like what he says, the way he responds back to it, I'm just like, what the hell? Like,
I've gotten
Definitely not a reporter.
okay.
I didn't think he was a reporter.
Okay.
There was a point where I thought he was like reporting the news, but like maybe
like a columnist or something. I thought he was a columnist.
Well, yeah, I think he is a columnist.
Okay.
Didn't he work for a newspaper at some point? I don't know if he still does. But I agree where, like, sometimes he just feels too much. And maybe we were agreeing about something at one point, and then now I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, it always feels so extra. And I was like, all right, I'm sick of you.
Well, I read an article, I think it was like earlier this year, where he's problematic, not just in like the things that he says. So he apparently he wanted to restart this magazine, I think called the North Star, which was like an abolitionist magazine. Leanna, you read this article?
No.
Or no?
I just heard of the North Star.
North Star.
Right. And so like there was all this energy behind it, and like celebrities were getting behind it, and it's like, oh, Michael Eric Dyson and like Susan Sarandon, and like people were like, oh, this is going to be this great thing, and like Sasha said, these stories are going to get told and blah blah blah. But then like it just didn't happen. Or it got started, but then there was not really any magazine, and like there were all these people who were like paying members, like paying monthly membership fees to this endeavor that like never really got off the ground. And so there are all these sort of like whisperings of like, well, where is that money going?
Yeah.
Is it incompetence? Is it like shadiness? There are like former employees for that endeavor that are like, could be a little bit of both. So I agree that like I always just thought he was an activist.
Yeah.
Maybe he worked for a newspaper. I don't know his history. But so I agree that like some things he says, it seems like a lot of things he says recently are like
A lot of things. There was a time too, like after the primary when Bernie lost, where he was just like dumping trash on Biden. And I was like,
Or
my
even right
God.
before the election. I remember right before the election too. And I was like, dude, like, do you want Trump again in the office? I was like, what are you doing? Yes.
yeah. And I think, and even, I mean, at the time I read the article, granted, I have not gone back to look at the North Star website, but at the time, which was maybe this summer at some point, the website really didn't have a whole bunch of like original content on it. Have merch. You could buy merch.
I mean, you know where else you could buy merch? What made me unsubscribe to his newsletter was when he wrote a book and he was pubbing it in his newsletter, and I was like, that's not what I came to see.
Yeah. So I would say
That's
that's maybe when I turned off a little bit. And I think afterwards, because he must have heard people like, you're using your newsletter to sell your book, like your own book. And then he went on a rant that was like, all the proceeds from my book are gonna go to something, one of the causes or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Was that before or after you got the criticism?
Right, who knows?
Right.
But I do think that Sean King was probably a victim of like biting off more than he can chew.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to like, there was not, I mean, at the time I felt like there really was not one unifying voice. Now I feel like there are a few different people that you can, depending on what flavor you like, you can go to that person. But at the time, it really was, Stacia, to your point, like, we just need somebody to tell us what to do and who to give money to and like what direction we need to be marching and whatever. It was, so he really did feel a void. And then I think because there wasn't anybody else, he decided to do the pipeline and the Black Lives Matter and also the podcast and the newspaper and it was like too much.
Yeah,
so I can see why he wouldn't. I can see why it would be mismanaged because it was moving so fast, like funds. I can see why I can see why he would fall into those traps. Not excusing it at all, but he has, I think, lost his way a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, overambition is a thing, but then there's also self-awareness. Like, I'm the idea person, right? I'm the dreamer. I'll come up with all this stuff. I might not be the person to run it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there was a little bit of ego in there. That's like, I can do all the things.
Absolutely. And you know what else? It has to be seducing. The light has to be so seducing.
I'm sure.
But yeah, and the Obama quote, he just goes so hard in his stance that it's almost that he becomes unreasonable. The way he has been approaching what former President Obama said about the defund the police thing, it's like he has tuned out what he actually said. He's not saying that it's wrong or anything like that. He's saying that is a slogan that cost votes and it was able to be used for other things, and it still doesn't. And if you don't have the people in the seats, like in the Senate and all of those places, then you don't have the people who can do the actual change that you want. And so the message is lost. But it's like he couldn't understand that. And everything that I've read, he's an educated man. So I think I don't think ego is a small problem of his. I think it's a huge problem of his. And people were in his comments like, they were like, you're entering clown territory right now. And they had like the clown emojis. And I was like, that Michael Jackson
Don't
meme
go
that's
after former, our always president, our forever president.
Forever president.
I was sitting there like that Michael Jackson meme, like, I'm just here for the comments. Like, the comments were lighting him up. And he was like, he's a public official and I have the right to say something against, like whatever. We have a right to challenge people. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't challenge him. You put sorry guys, he put a picture. Did y'all see this? He put a cartoon, a political cartoon of Frederick Douglass and Obama. And God, forgot what it said, but like Frederick Douglass said one thing, and Obama was the cartoon of it was like, oh, let's put it a different way. I think a better way to say it is dun 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 dun, 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 like watering down a point. And it was like, oh my gosh, this dude is ridiculous. He's so ridiculous. And he got lit up in his comments behind that. Because it was, I'm gonna find it and send it. We'll share it with our audience.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to play well with nuance, which I think is what he kind of missed in Obama's point. There's nuance to the defund the police idea that is being missed if someone who doesn't want to listen hears defund the police. It's too easy to anyway, we all know that.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Confab Experience, but I really feel like we need to keep talking. Like, I have so much more to say to you guys. So listening audience, bear with us. I think next week we're just gonna like keep on chopping it up, you know, having fun conversations, having a confab with the girlfriends, if you will. But for now, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you have a confabulous day.
Continue the experience on our social media handles at the Confab Experience.